Absolute. It's cool. All right, today I'm going to be grilling a ribeye steak. I have a ribeye steak in here, and I am going to season it. Now, this is a ribeye steak with the bone in it. So this is what we call in Spanish bon appetit. All right, so I have the steak right here. You can see the ribeye. Some people use a mallet to tenderize it. I, however, do a different method. I'm going to use the seasoning method. So I'm going to show you how to season it, how I'm going to season this right here, this ribeye with the bone in it. And I'm going to be grilling it. I'm also going to be showing you how to cook potatoes on the grill. I have potatoes. See this right here? I have potatoes nice and clean. I'm going to be cooking that. So let's go and get started. I'm going to add the number one ingredient. I'm going to add some salt to this. This is 365 sea salt. Whole Foods Market 365 sea salt that I'm going to be adding to it. Let's get that sea salt. Now, the idea is just get the steak nice and salted. And if you'd like to let the steak sit for about 30 minutes, an hour, maybe even overnight, and allow some of the seasoning, such as the salt, to be absorbed into the steak. Another thing is tenderizer. This is meat tenderizer. This is made by Adolph's. Okay, so original unseasoned tenderizer. Now, what this does is it actually does what it says. It says it tenderizes. This is something called bromelain, which you can find in pineapple, which actually, I would say, loosens up the collagen within the steak, making it tender and easier to chew. Now, you want to go light on this when you're putting the tenderizer on here, depending on how long you're going to let the steak sit. So the longer that the tenderizer is able to sit on the steak, the more tender it's going to be. Now, it may be a good thing until it's not. And that, when it's not, is when it has been sitting on there too long and it can actually turn it to mush. I kid you not. I'm going to add some black pepper to it. This is 365 Whole Foods Market black peppercorns. And I'm just going to go ahead and take this and put the black peppercorns on to the steak like that. Now, these are the three main ingredients. If you want to add different things to it, you're more than welcome, depending on your taste. But these are truly my go-to whenever I'm making steaks right there. But for this one, I'm going to add a little bit of flavor. I'm going to do a little bit of oregano in here, not too much, because oregano can have an overwhelming takeover of the steak, and I'm not trying to have that. Like oregano, but not that much. And then I'm going to try some garlic powder. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of garlic powder on here. Now, some people can take or will take fresh garlic. Fresh garlic is good, adds a lot to the flavoration, more so than just garlic salt or garlic powder. So you have that on there. And I'm going to throw some Flavor God Everything. Now, this right here is the original blend, Flavor God Everything seasoning, original blend, natural seasoning. I'm going to put this on here as well. I'm going to just put a little bit on it, not a whole lot. It just adds to the mix of the steak. Now, once I've put it on that side of the steak, I'm going to flip this over. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And this allows the flavor to be more uniform and to go all throughout the steak. So put some salt on there. Got to put the meat tenderizer on there. Oh, a little bit too much on that side. And then I'm going to put a little bit of oregano on this side. Have some oregano on there. And then put black peppercorns. Get the black peppercorn on there. Did I do the salt yet? We'll just do a little bit more salt. And then Flavor God. then garlic powder. A little more garlic powder on there. Now once I have all this on here, I'm gonna let the steak rest. I'm gonna let the flavor really go through it. So I'm gonna get to the potatoes next, but I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, and then I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator. Set it to the side and put it in the refrigerator momentarily. I'm gonna allow the flavors to go through. Now with the potatoes, what you have to do to prep the potatoes and get them ready for action is, first I just take a fork and I just gently poke some holes into the potato. Doesn't have to be too deep. Just put the holes in the potatoes. And what this does, it allows the steam to actually go out of the potato when it's cooking, and it allows for more even cooking. Now, when I'm poking the holes in the steaks, try not to do it too hard because you don't want to injure yourself, okay? See, I'm lightly doing this, protecting my hand, making sure that the potato's thick enough and that I am not putting too much pressure on the fork when I'm going through this. So I have this, and now I'm going to put this in aluminum foil. All right, so now I'm just going to take the aluminum foil, I'm just going to take the potatoes. Here's one potato. And I'm just going to simply roll it and roll it, fold in the sides, roll it, roll it. Like that. That's one potato. Then I have the second potato, or potato, excuse my French. I'm gonna go ahead and take that, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and roll it, just like that. Now I'm ready to put these onto the grill along with the steak. After the steak marinates a little bit or lets the spices go all the way through. Absolute. All right, so I'm doing a little bit extra right here. I have some mackerel that I'm gonna be cooking as well. I'm gonna go ahead and put this out. And so when I'm cooking mackerel, I'm gonna put this on aluminum foil and cook it on the grill, because you don't wanna put the mackerel directly on the grill because it will actually, it could cause the grill, or what am I trying to say? It will actually not cook well on the grill. It'll actually pieces will actually go through the grill and make it not so good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take this and cut it open. And then what I like to do is I'm gonna spray the aluminum foil with a little bit of olive oil just to keep it from sticking so much. So I put the olive oil on top, and then I'm just gonna take the mackerel. See, one side of the mackerel has the skin on that. I'm gonna put the skin side down, and then take this one. And so I have two pieces of mackerel that I'm gonna be adding to this. So mackerel has a lot of flavor to it. It has a lot of fat to it, which is translated into flavor in the cooking world. All right, so I'm gonna put these on the grill. Absolute. All right, so the grill is finally hot enough, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take the steak, ribeye with the bone in it. I'm gonna put this, get at a nice time for the seasonation to go through it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put this on the grill. And the grill is really hot and it's gonna leave some nice charred marks, so I'm just gonna throw it right there. And I'm gonna leave it open for a second. And you can see right here that the steak is cooking really well. I'm getting closer so you can see this a little bit better. All right, so this is the steak. It's cooking quite nicely. And I'm like letting it sit on one side right here, and it's developing some nice charred marks right here. And so it's developing nice charred marks, and momentarily, I'm gonna move it to a different area of the actual grill in order to give it charred marks on a different area. So I'm gonna do that shortly. I'm gonna go ahead and move that, and then I'm gonna get the fish on the grill as well, and it's going to be cooking. Fish actually cooks a lot faster, so I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna move it to a different area. Let's go ahead and get started with that. All right, so I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna move it to over here. So I'm gonna take a steak, see that beautiful charred marks that it has right here. I'm gonna put it right here. It's gonna do cross charred marks right there. It's gonna look really nice. Again, I'm not putting the grill down yet because I want to get those nice grilled charred marks on here. So that's what I'm doing right here. Get the nice grilled charred marks on there. It's gonna look really nice. Look at it, you can see the juice coming up from the steak. You can see the nice charred marks that we have going right here. So the next ones are gonna be coming this way. And if I want, I can do a nice counter cross charred marks of the steak, but these look pretty decent right here. They're really thick because of the grill has thick grills to it. I'm gonna check on the potatoes. They've been cooking. That is at the top, just roll those up. I'm gonna be cooking this, let it cook a little bit more. And meanwhile, I'm gonna add the fish to the equation. And we're gonna get started with the fish, and I have some shrimp and perhaps some cabbage that I'm going to be having with the steak. But just look at the nice charred marks which have already developed on the steak. Looking really nice, absolute. All right, the steak is getting some nice charred marks on this side. I'm gonna lift it up, basically just to see how well it's going. Oh, nice. And so you see this, sometimes people do the cross charred marks. You could do that, so I have it going this way. I'll put this in a different area that's been heating up, and I'll do it that way. And so I have charred marks going this way, that way, a lot of different ways I have charred marks going. So I'm gonna take the potatoes, I'm gonna move them over to here. They've been cooking quite a while. Then I'm gonna take the fish, and I'm gonna put the fish on the top rack. And the fish on the top rack will allow it to get enough heat for when I close it. Put that right there. And it'll cook the fish quite evenly, so it's gonna be looking really good. Then I have some cabbage that I'm gonna put on to the grill. It's gonna cook it quite nicely. It's a little bit unorthodox from what I normally do, but it's gonna look good. All right, so just look at the steak. You have nice charred marks happening on the other side. I'm gonna flip it again so I can get some nice charred marks on this side. I'm gonna move it to another location where it's hot and it's beginning to heat, because right now it's actually a little bit cooler under the area that I'm staying at. I have the steak at right now. So let's take a look at it. See the nice cross charred marks right there. It looks really nice, right? I'm gonna move it to a different section. All right, look at that steak right there. It's looking really nice. You have the nice charred marks on both sides. It's almost done. I don't really need to close it. If you like your steaks cooked well, medium well, whatever, we're gonna make it happen really nicely. I have the nice charred marks going on. Look at that, cross charred marks, absolute. It's going right there. Nice steak. That's a ribeye steak with the bone in. You see the fat dripping from the steak. Not a lot of flavor going on right there. I'm gonna have to actually close the top to allow the potatoes to cook more efficiently, as well as the fish to cook. But you can see this charred marks going right here. And this is pretty much how you cook a steak right here. Whether you like the steak medium well, well done, over well, well and good, it's up to you. You can just keep the steak on here, perhaps close the top to it. But that's it. I'm gonna put some cabbage on here, you know, get that cooking pretty second. But the steak is pretty much done, and that's how you cook steak on a grill. Absolute. All right, so now I'm going to put some cabbage on here. Steak is pretty much done. We'll toast it on that side. It's all good. From the medium side down. So you see I have the cabbage right there. Now what I'm gonna do with the cabbage is I'm gonna put a little bit of salt and a little bit of olive oil on it. And it's gonna add to the flavoration to the cabbage. Now I'm going to move the handle before it gets too hot. Actually move it over here before it gets too hot. And then at this point, I'm going to actually only be using a mitt to handle the cabbage because the handle is going to get hot. So I have that right there. Put a little bit of salt on it. Put a little bit of pepper on it. And if you want to, you can put a little bit of water in there. That'll add to help steam it up a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil on top. Put it on the top, it's going to drip down to the bottom pretty well. I'm actually going to turn this one down just slightly. And then this is the secret right here. Add a little bit of coconut water. 100% coconut water with pulp-free juice. This is from Whole Foods, 365 Whole Foods Market. This is like my little recipe right here. Put some coconut water on there. Maybe a little bit more salt. Pepper. And then I'm going to take some aluminum foil and I'm just going to put it on top. Now what this does is it allows the steam to get trapped in there, speeding up the cooking process to make sure it thoroughly gets cooked through there. So it doesn't need to be nice and tight against that, but just right there. Have the potatoes up there, steak right here. Steak is done. I'm going to put this on and then I'm going to put it on to a plate and cut this up and start to get at it. Get the steak. Absolute. I'm going to go ahead and take the steak. Look at that. Nice juicy steak right there. Absolute. And put the top down and let everything else. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and raise this up. See, the fish right here is cooking quite nicely. I'm going to show you that in a little bit. I'm going to check on the cabbage. Started to cook nicely. Started to sweat. You can see the heat coming up from the bottom. A little bit got toasted on the top, but the aluminum foil kept it from actually burning. So I'm just going to turn this one time, and that should do the trick. And I'll put the aluminum top back on, and that will cook the rest of the cabbage. All right, so I have that going in there. Just stir it a little bit just to get the heat dispersed a little bit. If you want to put more coconut water on there, you can, but I'm not. I'm going to go ahead and put the top back on, and I'll check on the potatoes, hot potatoes. I'm just going to move these to the bottom. Now we're here. Hot potatoes. A little bit more heat action going on here. You can see the mackerel is cooking quite nicely. And one way you can notice is you can see that the white stuff coming out of the mackerel, it's indicative that it's getting hot on the inside. I'm just going to leave this on here for a little bit longer because mackerel doesn't take that long to cook. It's going well, absolute. All right, so the cabbage is done, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip this. I'm going to turn the pan up high, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to turn the pan up high. It's a little surprise. So I'm going to stir this really quick. Just one last stir. You see the fish is up there cooking well, and I'm going to be cooking something else inside of the cabbage pan after I get the cabbage out of the pan. If that makes any sense. Let's see, the flame went out. There it is. So I'm going to get the cabbage. I'm just going to scoop it and have a dish right here, ready for the cabbage. Ready or not, here it comes. Cabbage, nice, steamed, grilled cabbage. It smells great. Has some great seasonation on it. I might have to put some of it on an actual plate because I don't know if this is big enough for all the cabbage. Look at that, nice cabbage. So I'm gonna put this on here. Look at that. I'm going to try to get it all on this, not in the container, maybe some on the actual grill. I'm going to put this on here. Look at that cabbage, looks nice. And this is heating up. And then I'm going to put something special inside of this pan right here once I get the cabbage off. Just a little something extra. Look at that cabbage. It looks really good, right? So now the pan is heating up. Check on the potatoes. Flip those. And so with the pan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the olive oil and put a little bit of olive oil in it. It's going to heat up. The olive oil right there. And then what I'm going to be using, the surprise, look at that, that's shrimp right there. These 100% good shrimp. See that? I'm going to be putting the shrimp inside of the pan. Now the oil is starting to heat up. Just going to spread the love a little bit. I already have it seasoned quite nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and pour the shrimp in there. Well, the shrimp cook quite fast, so you have to be alert with that. Make sure that you don't burn it. So let me get it closer so you can see the shrimp. All right, so that is the mackerel right here. Do you see the mackerel? It's cooking quite nicely. It should be almost done. You can see some of the juices coming out of the mackerel. To have that, the potatoes should be done about the same time as the mackerel. It's going to be eating good really soon. All right, you see the starting to bubble up a little bit. Absolutely. All right, so you see we have the shrimp in here. Flame going up on a Tuesday. Just gonna stir this a little bit. It's cooking quite nicely. Flavoration still taking time to heat up. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and shut this right here. Allow the pan and everything to get really hot inside of here. And then we're gonna go forward with cooking the shrimp. Absolute. Gonna leave the top open. There's a lot of water inside of the shrimp that's gonna be burning off. Absolute. Let me go ahead and close this. All right, so here is the shrimp cooking quite nicely. And this is concluding my cooking today. Absolute goodness, if you ask me. Look at this, absolute. Stir this up, get the flavoration going around. Shrimp cook quite fast, so they're about done. Just cook this a little bit longer. Absolute.